We rejected an approach from Charlton in the summer to become their official fan podcast, and I'm pleased to announce that we rejected an approach from Crawley to do the same for them this season. We are loyal and we are sticking with Swindon Town. We've got a very strong panel, a lot of opinion on a fair few topics, and a bit of fun all rolled in. And once again, Shah has sent us one hell of a question to kick off a debate as I introduce the panelists. But before all that, let's roll the titles.
Take my hand, take my whole life too, but I can't help falling in love with you.
And with the nature of the question from Shah, there's only one man I would like to introduce first. Friday night can only mean one thing, the return of Friday Night Joe. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Fifey. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, all good. Interesting comment about us being loyal at the start there. I think some of us are more loyal than others, but I'm sure
well in modern football, as we know, loyalty doesn't exist.
No.
And journeyman is the only way to go.
It's the new thing apparently to be a journeyman.
It is. But as a podcast, there is only one team we want to talk about, and that is Swindon Town. However, before we get into all of that, mate, I don't know if you watched the episode the other day where the mini egg cream egg debate run rampant in the conversation.
I didn't see it, but mini eggs all the way for me.
We have another one, courtesy of Shah. She very much appreciated the fact that we spoke about it and tagged us in another one. She wants to know, or she said, what crisps make the best sandwich filler, before proceeding to say, and I will fact check this, that for her, salt and vinegar.
Yeah, I think I agree. Salt and vinegar all the way. Or salt and vinegar, and then maybe cheese and onions close second.
Oof. I think I went for flame grilled steak McCoys. Let's see what the rest of the panel...
You obviously have more expensive taste than myself. I'm just a standard Walker's guy.
Yes, clearly I'm the one with the expensive taste. Speaking of expensive taste, let's ask our next panelist, Rich. Good evening.
Of course I get introduced like that. Evening, boys.
How are you, pal?
Yeah, all good, thanks. All good.
Very good to hear. Obviously, you're a young man who keeps himself in a stealth-like condition, but that wasn't always the way, as you've admitted before. Was there a particular crisp that you would say makes the best sandwich filler?
Yeah, Doritos Chili Heatwave.
Oh, shout. I think that'd be popular with a lot of people, but I'll be honest and controversial, maybe unpopular. I'm not a big Doritos fan personally.
No, I don't like them.
Next up, a man who I'm sure has never in his life had a crisp sandwich. Evening, Nick.
Oh, Fifey, how can you say that? I've had many a crisp sandwich.
And what crisp would be the best filling for you, sir?
Probably cheese and onion, followed by sweet chili crisps.
Sweet chili.
Yeah.
Now there's the man with the taste, Joe.
Tyrrell's, mate. Tyrrell's crisps.
Tyrrell's, definitely on the Tyrrells.
And I see we're going to have a good night tonight because we've got our friend Spider Can back.
Yes.
So obviously it's going to be a good night.
Indeed. And hello also to Alfie, who I've seen, and Mike, and PJ as well. All in the chat
PJ
already.
should be getting drunk on holiday at the moment.
Next up, a man who I'm sure is not been short of a few crisp sandwiches in his time. The opposite end of the scale. Evening, Craig.
Yeah, evening, Fifey. Before I talk about Chris, can I just say I've got this nice retro Swindon Town jumper made courtesy of the Town End tailor. So thanks, Ollie. I always give credit where it's due.
I like the fact that you asked while then also proceeding to just go and do it.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, other tailors are available, but there we go. For me, it depends on the brand of crisp as well, because I've never had a crisp sandwich, to be perfectly honest. But I think if I did have one, it'd have to be salt and vinegar squares. I think because they are just gorgeous. But what I tend to do in my crisps, this is going to sound really weird. I'll have ready salted crisps. I'll slice up a bit of cheddar cheese and add a bit of vinegar and put that in there as well. And just shake it all up in the bag.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
Craig, going back in time, before all these crisp flavours came out, the only way you could get a flavour of crisp was by a packet of plain and soak them in vinegar, because that was it. There wasn't anything else.
Yeah, I can imagine. You had the
little salt, in the little blue wrapper.
Sachet,
that was it.
Yeah, I do remember those. But I don't know if they still do them, but yeah, I do remember that.
No, they tried to revive it, but it didn't work.
Yeah. Oh, the good old days, eh?
Yeah.
We need
does anyone else think we should be streaming this in black and white?
Yeah, this reminds me of Abe Simpson from The Simpsons.
We need
my day.
Yeah.
1952.
We need the Hovis theme tune in
That's
the
it.
as well. So yeah. There we go. But
never mind.
Long story short, salt and vinegar squares.
Okay. Never mind the Hovis theme tune for our next and final panelist. Oh no, he's disappeared. Where's he gone?
Woody Wi-Fi.
There he is. No, he's back. For our next and final panelist for this evening, or at least for the time being, it should be the national anthem and a standing salute as we have the new coach of Royal Wootton Bassett. Good evening, Woody.
Yeah, don't worry about these lot.
Yeah,
I'll come over to you guys. These lot talk about fucking crisps for 5 minutes, man. yeah, don't worry. Yeah, I'll be over with you tomorrow. They won't know a thing, mate. They think I'm loyal to them. Stupid. Right. Oh, hi lads.
Evening, Woody.
Love, put some ready salted crisps in that ham sandwich, won't you, please?
Is that what the Royals eat? Is it really?
Oh yeah, sorry, salmon.
Salmon crisps.
No, it's quinoa. That's what they eat over at
Hey,
Royal Wootton
yeah,
Bassett.
smoked salmon, Woody. Smoked salmon. Get it right.
Oh yeah, of course, smoked salmon.
Seeing this message before we go any further, and of course, everyone watching, please let us know which crisps you would say make the best sandwich. Claire's feeling a bit sorry for herself with a hot water bottle and a lem sip. I understand that one. I just finished this before we went live, feeling a bit bummed up myself. Just hoping that we could put a few smiles on her face. So no pressure, lads, but you need to make Claire feel better. As Mike asks while Woody was doing his whole spiel, is this an advert for Werther's Originals?
I thought I literally thought that.
Werther's.
I thought that was like the toffee mints.
It is.
It is.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay. was going to say, I'm
Who
thinking,
young
hang
is
on,
this
there,
guy?
I'm thinking we're talking about crisps here. Toffee mince though, but they are good though.
And there's Aidan. Doritos or What's-Its every day of the week. If anyone knows what would make a good crisp sandwich, it is obviously Aidan. Gents, welcome. Happy Friday night. And believe it or not, I know we've all forgotten what this feels like, but we have a game to talk about.
Whoa.
I know. For anyone who hasn't seen it yet, Nick and myself featured on Gills in the Blood. We did a little 15-20 minute preview with the team over there, and got to speak about Swindon.
You did. Nick disappeared for 10 minutes of it.
It must have been the
Using my
Gills
Wi-Fi.
connection. That's the first time it's ever done that, so I blame it on them.
Was it? Still wind up, dial up, was it?
Yeah, that's it. From all the way in Kent. I did say Kent.
You did say Kent. that we didn't miss here, unlike you pronouncing someone's YouTube username the other day.
Yeah, I still don't know what I said. Nobody will tell me.
I'll put it in the private chat for you, Nick,
Okay,
so you
thank
understand.
you. Excellent.
So as you've had your say, Nick, I'll save you to the end, and let's invite Joe on first. Looking forward to getting some live football again.
Yeah, it seems like ages, doesn't it? I know it's only not that long ago, but it seems like it's been a month or more. Yeah, it was a shame. I mean, obviously we had that great result, Grimsby, and then it's just stopped all our momentum, hasn't it? It just seems like we're starting all over again. And but yeah, if we get half the performance we got against Grimsby, I'm sure we'll be fine.
And are you expecting us to be able to replicate the levels of performance and how much? Obviously, the red card we spoke about at the time. The red card had a big effect, so it's definitely a different game, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've picked up some good results. They've brought some players in and picked up some good results in the last few games. So it's going to be tough. I think there's about 1,000 fans coming as well, away fans, so they're going to be loud, and the team's going to be right up for it. Obviously, it's a bit of a one-sided derby these days, isn't it? Apart from maybe the sort of older generations. But yeah, so they're going to be well up for it. It's going to be a tough game. I think the only reason they're so low down is because of the amount of goals they haven't scored. I think generally defensively they've not been that bad. Not let too many goals in. They just haven't been scoring any. And the last few games they've picked up a few results, got a few more goals, and yeah, it's not going to be straightforward. But I think we should be strong enough to beat them.
Well, unlike us, Rich, they've done a bit of business recently and turned their form around. A couple of wins in their last couple of games. As Joe said, they started scoring a couple of goals. So it's despite their league position, if you consider their actual current form, this is a tricky obstacle.
Yeah, and I think whenever we play somebody down low anyway, despite whatever record that they've got, obviously they've got a good one coming into this. But we usually do quite well against teams that are currently in form. We have been this season anyway. Well, we were last season as well, to be fair. So we're usually up for the fight. If somebody's in form, we usually sort of try and match that. It's when teams are struggling and all that kind of stuff is where we sort of slip up and take teams for granted, really. And I think tomorrow, it should be quite an evenly good match. But, we've got to be ruthless. We've got to be, get straight out the gates. I know Gunning will have them fired up. He had them fired up against Warsaw, which didn't happen. He had them fired up for Stevenage. That didn't happen. So, I think he'll be chomping at the bit as well now, Gunning. He's thinking, damn, I wanted a match straight after Grimsby to keep that roll going until we got the new gaffer in.
Thing is, Rich, as he said, pressure is for tyres.
Oh, jeez.
Where's Warren?
Yeah, I bet wasn't that quote.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Get Wazza on the case. But no, I just think, I want to see what he can do if he can replicate what he did in the Grimsby game. And I've got no reason as to why he can't. He's got somebody on the pitch that's just as vocal as Gunning is. So there's nothing really stopping us from playing really good football and playing advanced football and trying to get behind the lines. I think, again, we'll probably have the more possession again tomorrow. I don't know whether or not Gillingham are going to hold back, whether or not that's how they've got their 2 results. I haven't really watched them. So don't really know an awful lot. Obviously, they've brought in a lot of players as well. They've strengthened in the defence as well. And so be a new challenge for Austin, but Austin will take any defence on. So yeah, it'd be interesting tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'd be a really, really good contest between 2 teams that are in not bad form. Well, can't really take our form into it, considering even though we won 5-0. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good, scrappy game, and there may be a red card in it as well. So,
Craig, the only benefit I can see of this extended time off we've had with the postponements is the possibility of 1 or 2 players maybe becoming available again fitness-wise. Are you expecting changes from the side that play Grimsby?
Well, I don't think there's been any injuries since the Grimsby game, as far as I know. I'd imagine, you don't want to change a winning team, even though it's been a couple of weeks or so. I'd imagine he'll go for the same starting 11. We got to realise that Gillingham aren't Grimsby. They're going to be a lot more rigid, well organised, and they're going to be more difficult to break down. So it's going to be interesting to see. And we said it, the phrase that kept coming out after the Grimsby game, that Gunning took the shackles off the players, and that obviously there was no better way of describing it. And we hope to see the same again tomorrow, but it's not going to be as easy as against Gillingham, because we know what to expect against them. They're going to be difficult to break down. They're fighting for every point at the moment. So if they get a goal, they'll sit back and they'll defend and make it very hard. So it'd be interesting to see if this group of players can do what they haven't been able to do all season, which is when we've come up against these type of teams, we've struggled to break them down. At the moment, down at the bottom there, normally by this time in the season, the bottom 2 are starting to fall away, but it's very close. You've got the bottom 6 teams, there's 6 points between them, and even a couple of places above that could get sucked in. So if Gillingham can get a goal or hold on to a draw, they'll be more than happy for that away from home in a so-called derby game for them, especially. So I really, I agree with Joe. We should beat them. We're good enough to beat them. If we play our game as well as we did against Grimsby, okay, that was against 10 men, but we were so much better than Grimsby before they even gone down to 10 men in my view. So we've got every chance of getting a result, but it's going to be tight. I think as well, Gillingham are going to make it very hard for us. They're going to shithouse and everything like that. So it'll be interesting to see how our team react. Obviously, having the leadership of Austin as well is going to make a difference. But we know they can be dangerous. In that game, when we drew 0-0 with them, even though they had 10 men for most of it, before they went down to 10 men, they caused us quite a few problems at the back. They did. We looked very vulnerable at the back, even though you wouldn't think it, because they haven't scored many goals this season. So we know what they are capable of. But I'm quietly confident that we should be good enough to get a result against them tomorrow. If we don't, it'll be very disappointing.
Woody, one of the things Craig said there is things that the team haven't been able to do thus far this season. And I believe I'm correct in saying we haven't won back-to-back games since October.
Is it that long? Bloody hell. I think I really, I listened to your pod, guys, and I kind of agreed with quite a few points that both you guys were saying and what the Gills lad was saying, really. But I think it's difficult. They are on a run because they've won back-to-back games, but they did beat Hartlepool and Colchester teams that they really should be beating. Let's not forget that it's
Let's
only
not forget
really
that
us.
we didn't beat Colchester, though.
Yeah, but let me finish. It's only really us. It's only really us that seem to not be able to justify our position in the table. You know what I mean? Whereas, Gillingham have got, as Craig said, Gillingham have got a lot to play for because I think they're 2 games in hand of some of the teams above them as well. They have made some decent signings. They will strengthen up defensively with Masterson coming in as well. I'm confident because it depends which way you look at it. Obviously, we drew at their place 0-0. Yes, they had a man sent off after 10 minutes or whatever. That was his debut, that lad, as well, wasn't it? But we had 23 shots on goal that game. And we were saying at that period, we haven't got a goal scorer and all of this kind of stuff. Now we've got a goal scorer. So arguably, if we play the same, even if we played the same, we should still be beating them. I'd like to think that Gavin's not going to change it at all. I think that where the 2-week rest will help us is the fact that those 11 players or 14 that we ended up using or whatever, however many we used, are all rested now and ready to go. And as Craig said, not only don't change a winning side, don't change a team that have kept a clean sheet. I know Clayton's back, and don't get me wrong, he might be back, but the quality that he does bring, don't get me wrong, but why would you disrupt a defence that have kept a clean sheet? Especially against a team that arguably, even with some of the signings, should still be weaker than Grimsby. So I'm confident. I'm not confident that we're going to turn over another 5-0, even if they did get sending off. But I am confident that we've got the quality now to pull off a result.
You equally positive then, Nick?
I said when we talked to the Grimsby lad the other night.
Gillingham.
Grimsby, sorry. Must be my wine. No, I must stop.
Nick did smash a whole bottle of wine in the bit between the link going live and us doing the intro.
Right, I did say it's going to be a really tough game, and Rich and Woody have already stolen 2 of my points. I think there'll be a red card in there because I think it's going to be a really, real good battle on there, and it's going to be all out. Matheson, I think he played a few games for us a couple of seasons ago and looked a really, really good player until he had a bad injury and had to go back.
Really?
We had him on loan, and he looked, really, really good. So I slightly disagreed with what he said about the rest. I think the problem is we've got players that need game time to get match fit. Yeah. Charlie Austin needs game time. I think I would like to see Lavinier in place of Iandolo, but Lavinier also needs match fitness.
Not Landolo, as one of the in the No account stupidly tweeted earlier.
And what was the name that Ben called? Love somebody or so when he was talking about Lavinier the other night. So we got a bit lost on who you're talking about, Ben. So to me, I would only make one change, but I did say it would be a 2-1 victory for us. But if it gets to 1-1, I would be worried that it's going to be a tough game to win. I think they're going to battle like hell. The guy said they've got 700 coming, but it sounds like it's probably topped that now. So they're going to be well up for it.
Paddy's tweeted in saying, "Evening, we owe Neil Harris one, so I'm going all in on a 3-2 Town victory." Let's get your predictions then. Nick's had his say. Craig, score prediction, please.
2-1 Town.
Wait, you're predicting a win?
Yeah, I'm predicting a win. Bearing in mind, though, hold on. The last time I predicted a win was against Colchester, and look how that turned out.
I'm not going tomorrow now.
I'm going to stay in the pub.
So for those people who don't understand fate, put money on Gillingham to win tomorrow.
This is why Craig should not be allowed on the wine when he comes on Fools.
I'd like to blame it on the wine, but I'd be lying.
Woody?
I'm going to have faith in our defence. 2-0 Town.
Nice. Rich?
3-1 Town.
3-1 Town, love it. Joe?
Yeah, I can see a tight one. So I'm going to go 1-0 Swindon.
That's not very fair, calling Woody a tight one.
True.
No, I like the positivity, guys, and let's hope that the wins do come in, and another 3 points on the board. Sean has messaged in on Facebook and gone 1 apiece. As I flashed up there, then let's move on to the women's side of the game. And Woody, you're back in the game.
Yes, that's right. I am. Kind of glad it's finally confirmed, if that makes sense. 5-0 belief. Was that Bassett's result on Sunday? I'm kind of glad. Obviously, some of you guys know I've been kind of talking to Bassett for what seems like about 3 months now. But it's
about as long as Swindon have taken to appoint our first team.
Yeah,
coach.
exactly. Well, I had to turn Swindon down first.
Of course.
But yeah, been there, done that.
So does everyone, apparently. So.
But yeah, no, it's good. A club on the app, a club I got a lot of respect for anyway. They do the right things. They've got good projection plans. I'm quite excited in terms of what their future holds for women's football. It's although I did, as you know, have the stopgap in Marlborough in between. I guess there's no disrespect to Marlborough, but it wasn't quite what I wanted. So I did thank them during the week. But it's
Thanks, but
I'm
no
looking
thanks.
forward to it. It's a bit harsh, but yeah.
We know it's
But
true.
no, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, already got a cup final to look forward to as well against our very own Beth Kellaway.
Not even had a game yet, and he's got
Yeah.
a cup final. Of course he has.
No,
calling the cup.
Chasing trophies.
No loyalty, glory hunter.
People get me in to win the trophies, Nick.
I cannot wait. Now you've said that, we are going to clip that, and we are going to invite Beth on after the cup final and just say, so, Beth, Woody said this.
That'd be brilliant,
Obviously, that would be a very
Woody,
tough game.
Woody, if you mentioned your trophy cabinet, because I don't think you have before, have you?
No, I can't because I'm a Spurs follower as well, so I got to be careful.
Oh, don't tell Mark he doesn't like people with 2 teams.
But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be good. It's nice to be back in the game. Well, I say in the game. Obviously, it's all one game, isn't it? But you know what I mean. It's and obviously I know quite a few of the players there already. And, they'll never be as big as Swindon. I'm going to appreciate that. They'll never be, Swindon have got some fantastic plans to go forward. And, as a fan, I'll enjoy watching that happen. But for me, it's about pushing Bassett with Simon and Sadie and Sam in there already as far as we can possibly go with them. And we have our aims for this season. They've had a very tough season. I'm not going to say I'm going to come in and work miracles because that's not... That's not what I am.
But you believe that's the case, though, don't you?
Well, yeah, I'll believe it when it's happened. But when it doesn't happen, I'll say, well, I'm just a coach. I can't wait. The girls are a great bunch. Bit like being back at Abingdon again, if I'm honest, in terms of how it feels being back in there. But looking forward to it.
And for those who aren't as familiar, I think it's fair to say, with sort of the women's game and the local pyramid, just give people an indication of sort of where Bassett are at the moment.
So Bassett are tier 5, which is 1 league below Swindon. They're in the Southwest League. In terms of names in there, probably the bigger ones are probably Torquay United, who they got on Sunday. Forest Green Rovers are in there as well. Some quite decent outfits that have recently plugged a lot of money into the women's game, which is great. I like Truro City. I've been there a few times. But yeah, it's an interesting league because, like I say, Torquay, Liskeard, there's a lot of travelling for the away games, some of them, but that's what I love. Rich will tell you that's what I love about, I don't mind those early morning travels because it's all part of the buzz for me. and obviously Warminster, who we'll have in the league, and we've also got in the County Cup as well, the County Cup final as well after Warminster knocked Swindon out. So, and it's at that level, the County Cup means a lot more than what it would to Swindon that are the men's, because it's just kind of it is quite a prime competition. So we got Torquay on Sunday. It's going to be a difficult game. They knocked Bassett out of the FA Cup earlier in the season, but yeah, it's good. Hopefully they keep me on at the summer. I think they're planning to keep me on in the summer. I've got a few people that I want to contact players wise, which I'm not allowed to contact at the moment. So yeah, it'll be hopefully watch this space if we can stay up in that division. And then you never know, maybe 2 years time we might be mixing in with Swindon in if they haven't progressed further.
Where in the table are you at Albert and Bassett at the moment, mate?
Right at the bottom.
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't think they've recorded a win yet from the top of my head. They've only played they're quite far behind. Like that whole league is quite far behind because quite a few of them had cup runs.
Yeah, they managed to get to a cup final.
Yeah. Wiltshire's a bit.
I know it is. Yeah,
disjointed. If I'm brutally honest, Warminster, Bassett, and Swindon are kind of your top three teams in it. Really, course, I went to the game, the semi-final. I watched them because I was talking to them at that stage, and that was a good game. That was against Burton, who are kind of a rising team in the area now. So, I can't wait. It's going to be brilliant. And obviously those who have I've spoken to a lot about this kind of move, whether it was the right thing, whether it was a kind of stab in the back of Swindon and all of this kind of stuff. So thanks to everybody who's kind of helped me along that way. But even bigger thanks as well. I feel like I'm on a stage. Even a bigger thanks to
Woody's winning an Academy Award.
This is your Oscar.
Literally, I know. I joke for kind of animation status, but the amount of offers I've had since I left Swindon has been just amazing. I generally have been really humbled by it. So it's really nice to see that there was a lot of people on the table. There's been a lot of offers that I have had to turn down, which is really nice. I feel like if I know some people that watch this pod have said that have offered me to come help with their youth teams or whatever. So but yeah, so hopefully I've made the right choice. It's a good club, going in the right direction. I've watched the men's team for quite a while as well at Bassett, and I quite like them. So looking forward to moving on.
Obviously,
couldn't wait for that one.
Obviously,
you made a good decision there with them, Woody.
Yeah, because he's already he tweeted something really nice earlier as well, and then he called me a tosser.
Woody's already regretting it now.
Yeah.
Well, obviously,
I'm old enough to play now, Cozzy. Old enough to play for your vets.
Everyone, obviously, at Fools Rush In wishes you the very best at Bassett. Paddy's tweeted in, congratulations to Woody on his good news midweek. That's a real plus for Bassett, and we look forward to following the adventure, however long and however far it may go, Woody. But that does not mean...
Average of 2 years, mate. Average of 2 years.
Average of 2 years. What was that about loyalty, Joe?
What did I say, mate? Journeyman.
Journeyman. Got to be fair to him because he has followed it up. Look, nice tosser. That does not mean, however, that our coverage of Swindon Town Women will stop. We will continue to try and offer the best fan-led content of Swindon Town Women we possibly can. And we will continue, obviously we're sponsoring players. We'll continue to try and get as many different players on to talk to them and members of the squad, attending games, pictures, etc. as best as we possibly can. There is no game for the first team this week. The development squad are travelling to Southampton this weekend, though. So wish them the very, very best of luck. Let's move on then, and let's go into the rumour mill, so to speak. Glad it's over? ? I mean, it says on the ticker there, Woody, you've spoken long, so let's keep you while you're active. No head coach still, no players coming in, but Gladwin's gone. Well,
you've just stolen everything I would have said. Yeah,
What is going on?
I'm not buying in. If I'm honest, I'm not buying into this kind of it's okay, we're going to leave it to the last minute type thing. And the only reason being, I'm not necessarily disappointed that Gladwin's gone. It's more of the fact that we've sold Gladwin and Reed, and I'm not going to lie. People will say otherwise. I know Crawley are chucking the money around. It isn't going to be for that much money. Yes, we've got money for him, but I'm just concerned that we don't seem to be necessarily replacing these players. When I think, I'll dig it up later. But there was a tweet that somebody put that said, yes, we've got 30 players at the moment, but actually active players we've only got 19. So it's kind of, it's a worry that we get one more injury, we can't fill a match day squad. So I don't think we're in a rosy position just because we've sold Gladwin and got a bit of money. I also think that his experience is going to be a loss. I was his biggest critic last year. I think somebody put in the chat that how the tables have turned. But yeah, and I get that point that you've just flashed up there. I get the point of cashing in on one now, but recruitment isn't cheap. It's not going to. We will lose most of that money on agency fees and whatever we have to pay to get another person in, who will probably be a risky person because it'll be somebody young. As we've already said before, it'll be somebody young. It'll be somebody possibly unproven. And I'm not necessarily against that, but I can't buy into this kind of, oh, Gladwin's gone, that's fine, we don't need to worry. We're talking that 2 weeks ago, Sandra Di Michele said on whatever pod it was, next week we'll have a manager or a head coach. We didn't get it. This last week, next week we'll have a head coach. Something's not right. Something's not ticking to me. Something's telling me that we're either getting turned down or we're not meeting demands. So it just doesn't ring right to me. And I think regardless of who does the recruitment, I know the recruitment can be done in the background and the idea of this model. This head coach has still got to come in and work with these players. And if it wasn't for the fact that we had 2 games postponed, this would be a bigger issue. Because if we had those 2 games, that's 2 games that have gone that this coach can't make a difference with the new signings. And I'm sorry, but I still, because we're not making any signings, I still think that this recruiting a head coach is a distraction. And because we haven't, and it's nothing to do with the fact of not having a head coach to agree with the players. It's nothing to do with the head coach not having to agree with the players. It's because all of Di Michele's time is too busy spent negotiating contracts that he can't meet or having interviews with people that he can't meet. And something doesn't smell right to me. And I think what we're going to end up doing, we're going to end up possibly bringing in some loan players and signing some, rather dire players, probably on a freebie on the 31st, which is only 4 days away. So I'm not panicking. It's just a big concern. And yes, Sean makes a brilliant point there. It's not like they're leaving us to join a higher league either. So I think I'm not at the panic station, but if we lose tomorrow, there'll be a meltdown. And I think we'll be looking at why have we lost? Are we, we all said, everybody on this pod said we needed to strengthen in January. We're now 7 days into January, and we've brought in Charlie Austin, which was a great, fantastic signing. We don't know enough about Kane yet to say whether he's going to actually make a difference. So have we really strengthened? Not, we've got people that were saying our squad wasn't strong enough with Austin. So for me, I think Di Michele's probably got a little bit of saving grace in the fact that we haven't had a game, but it just doesn't ring right to me. I don't believe we're negotiating with players or anything like that. I just think we're playing a very risky game. And what concerns me more is there are clubs in our league that are signing some half decent players, not to mention our opponents on Saturday. And even in Crawley, I know Gladwin mixed opinions, including my own, but that's a bloody good signing for Crawley. Yes. Regardless of what you think of him, that's a good signing for Crawley. So they've strengthened by that. And as I see it, we brought in Charlie Austin, and yes, as Cozzy said, is he better than having Gladwin and Reed? Yes, by quality, but by depth, definitely not. We don't have enough depth to keep losing players that, I think I put in the chat earlier that we've got players still in the squad that have missed half a season, missed 9 games, missed 10 games. Gladwin missed 3 games this season. And we've just, we think it's okay. I'm not just necessarily thinking of quality. I'm thinking of depth of squad as well.
So you make some very good points, and what we'll do is we'll examine the different things that are going on individually. We'll stick with Gladwin, and I think it's important for balance. And I know we've come on to this before. Ben's managed to finish work and come on to have his say. So he's made it very obvious to us where he stands on the debate. He's made it very obvious online as well. He's pointed out the fact, as a few people have in the chat. And I don't think many of us disagree. It's a good bit of business in terms of he'd be available at the end of the season for free, I believe, most likely. He isn't the player maybe he was, 8-9 years ago when he was first here, which is fair. I think that's fair to say that. I think what's caused the debate with those sorts of comments and others that other fans have made online is about the respect nature, because yes, he might not be that player, but that's not what we were asking him to do. You can point out that he's not the most energetic. He might not be sprinting for 90 minutes all over the pitch. But what about the things he does do? Do we have the players to replicate that? Or is it the case, as I've seen a few people suggest, he doesn't suit the Swindon way of playing and he was part of the problem? I disagree. I personally think he's a big miss because he offers us something, or offered us, I should say, something that no other player really offered us in that particular position. And it's, I get the point about the delayed games that you made, Woody, but I think it's actually worked in the negative because we haven't had these games. There's been more times to get these things sorted. And the fact that the only things that have been announced, and I don't want to show disrespect to it, but the only thing that's been announced is we've got 2 coaches going over to whatever country we've got that link with. It's, you can see why fans are sarcastically saying, can any of them play centre-back? Can any of them play centre-mid? It's ridiculous, I think, if we're not doing a model where the manager, because we're not having one, we're having a head coach, is having to have the final say. If we can't get these things over the line, it's a problem, I agree. And when it comes to Gladwin specifically, what we're gaining in his wages being available and what we're gaining in earning however much it is, from £10 to £10,000, I think we're losing an experienced player, a vocal player in the dressing room, which when we're having a young squad, I mean, we've got names flashing along the bottom that we'll talk about in a minute, including the likes of McDonald. If all of our experienced players go, we all said the other week how good it was that Charlie Austin was talking to the likes of Wakelin. If he's the only experienced player left, we've got problems. Now, Craig, I'll come to you next because I know you don't see Gladwin as big a loss to the squad as I do.
No, I don't think it's a big loss, but I think Woody makes a perfectly valid point about the strength in depth. I said if McDonald goes, I want somebody in before that to replace him, and the same with Gladwin. I think compared to last season, Gladwin was better, yes, but come on, let's face it, that wasn't a high bar. Early on in the season, people are saying, he was our most consistent player. He was brilliant and all this and everything. I'm sorry, but he was playing well in a team that was underperforming when we were drawing loads of games. He was playing well in the team that drew 0-0 against Gillingham that had 10 men. He was okay. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't brilliant either. His experience, yes, that can help. But one of the things I will stick up for him for is this all of a sudden about his pace and everything and all, which nobody mentioned his pace earlier on in the season when they were praising him to high noon. Right. And like I said, I've been one of his. I've probably been harsh on him more than anyone on this panel this season. But I think, where's that come from? All of a sudden, he hasn't changed. He's still the same player as what he was early on in the season. But you can't help but notice that against Grimsby, with him not in the team, we looked a better team in that midfield. But yeah, for me, I looked at him after he spoke against the Colchester game, and I was like, as a lot of our fans, that's a future Swindon Town manager there, or a future Swindon Town coach. So it's a shame he's gone, and maybe he will come back as a coach for us someday. But you can tell he loves the team. I was a bit surprised that he went to Crawley because he hates Oxford, so I'd have thought he'd have stayed. But there we go. But yeah, I think for me, it's not a big loss, but we need to replace him. Like Woody said, we need that strength in the midfield. There are better players than him. He's a decent League Two midfielder, so it's not a huge loss for me. Getting a fee for him at his age, but it might turn out to be a better deal for Crawley. Whatever money they paid for him, like Woody said, he is a good signing for them, and he can help turn their season around. If they stay up, then it'll be whatever they paid for him will be worth it for them, definitely. And as I think we said in our group chat, it was like Gladwin was Lindsay's voice on the pitch, pretty much, wasn't he? So you can tell that they're probably going to work together well. But yeah, and also with what Woody was saying about the whole recruitment thing, it's like it's gone on pause while we're waiting for the manager to come in. It's almost like the club has got too much of a choice, and now they're differing over the recruitment of the new manager. It's almost like like with anything in life, if you've got too much choice and you're like, oh no, I don't know what to do. It's almost like that the club's acting like at the moment. And I think because we haven't got any proper football people in the hierarchy, as in Rob Angus, Clem, or even Sandro, he wasn't a football person up until about a year ago when he came over from Sky Bet to Wigan. I honestly think that they don't know what they want. Because you had Artel, who was like, in the run-in, he's had the interview and everything, and he sounded like the ideal fit. He wanted the job. He basically was begging Swindon for the job. And I think he would have been happy with the structure, the setup, however the club wants to do it, he'd have gone in for it. And now they're going for Jody Morris. And I'm like, well, why hasn't that been announced already? And it's almost like if rumours were to believe at the beginning of this season, a lot of people were turning us down either because of the wages or because of the restrictions that were being put in place by the board when it came to how the first team was being run. So yeah, it's very strange and a bit concerning. And and I'm with Woody. These last few days, if we end up recruiting a new manager in the next couple of days, it's only a few more days that we get to bring players in, and it's all going to be rushed again, isn't it? You'd like to think we've got players on the radar, but they're probably on other clubs' radars, and they've probably already been brought in. Yep. So yeah, it's really concerning. Something's not quite right, I don't think, at the club, the way they're doing this at the moment. And I think, we're going to end up shooting ourselves in the foot that we didn't make this decision sooner rather than right to the end of the transfer window. I think it's definitely going to come back to bite us in the ass.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob's tweeted in, Woody is spot on, in my opinion. The club stroke Sandro have tried to be clever and it might have backfired. Ridiculous that it's taken this long. I mean, I'm sure he's supposed to be at work, but he's not even hiding who he is anymore. If there was a problem, we'd have heard about it, yes, because the clear and open transparency is working an absolute truth.
Ben doesn't understand how rumour mills work, does he?
No.
Get back to work, Ben.
Joe, I'll bring you in at this point. Obviously, you can have your say on Gladys leaving, but could there it is. Look, that's what I was waiting for. But could Ellis be joining him, do you think?
I'd be disappointed if he did.
As would I.
I know that some of the guys and other fans aren't Ellis's biggest fan, but I think he is totally different to any other player we've got in our squad in terms of physicality, work rate. He's good in the air. He's deceptively good in the air.
One of the few that's got a left foot.
Yeah, one of the few left footers. can play 2, 3, 4 positions maybe. And I'd be very disappointed if he gave up 8 years of playing at Swindon Town to go to Crawley, who are granted same league but lower in the league, struggling in the league, whatever. I would be very disappointed. Can I see it happening? Hey, everyone's got a price, haven't they, at the end of the day? So
Certainly have.
if the right bid comes in and they offer him the right wages, then he'll be gone. But
And it's not far from home.
yeah. Again, it is closer to home, but I would be very disappointed for him more than anything. We've got better footballers than Ellis Iandolo, don't get me wrong, but he has got that connection with the club. He's been here a long time, and like I say, he's just a bit different. Most of us guys went to Northampton the other week, and he was brilliant in midfield that night, heading, tackling, doing the horrible stuff that people don't really notice.
But Joe, as they say in football, there's no such thing as loyalty.
Yeah, this is it, mate. This is it. And as I said,
although he has been very loyal, I will say this, Ellis, it has been incredibly loyal for 8 years. But like you say, I'd be disappointed as well if he didn't at least make it to 10 years.
Yeah, but you'd be disappointed mainly because he's the focal point of your favourite chant.
Yeah, my favourite.
But I think as well with Ellis, we can't afford to lose another midfielder. I've been saying all season his best position is in a midfield 3 or whatever shape we have in midfield. I know he hasn't been great this season, but we know how he can play. And if we lose him as well, something's seriously wrong behind the scenes.
But Craig, what if we get a fee and he's not been as good as he's been before?
Well, yeah. Well, it's the whole Moneyball thing, isn't it, mate? So, yeah.
I guarantee he'll go for more than Gladwin.
Yeah.
Or would it only be bad business because he's not over 30?
Well, no. Well, how old is he, though? He's 25, isn't he? 26?
25, yeah, something like that,
yeah. Yeah, so we're not going to get great money for him even for that because no one's going to get sell-on value for him, are they? But
nonsense.
Yeah.
Absolute nonsense.
I just
He's 25 years old. If he has 3 excellent years, then he will be 28 and they will get amazing value for him.
No, I mean sell-on value. If they're most teams, if he gets to 28,
your value doesn't start to diminish once you're 22 years old.
I never said that.
No, but you're saying there's no sell-on value.
Well, he's 25.
Yes,
25. If he gets to 28, nobody is going to pay decent money for a 28-year-old League 2 player.
He's only 24.
That's his
right,
peak
I don't know his exact age. I said about 25, 26.
If he signs for a club lower down the ladder, he won't get out of League 2.
Yeah, that's what
so
I mean.
Nobody will pay money for him.
So
that's where Crawley are going anyway. So
yeah,
he
could have the 3 best years in a row. He'll still just run his contract down because nobody will pay money above League 2 who have got money for somebody who's 24 to 28 years old, who's only really performed at that level. I get where you're coming from. That it'll be a good side, but equally, I think someone flashed up that he's on a 3-year contract. I'd be surprised if we sell him. To be fair, because someone's got to buy him out of that contract. So isn't he one of our highest paid players as well?
Who's that?
Well, according to Football Manager's spreadsheet, transfermarket.co.uk.
Yeah. More reliable than fucking Sandro's spreadsheet.
But no, I don't think we have another midfield player like him.
Yeah.
But we haven't got another midfield player like Gladwin.
I think we've got players that can do what Gladwin did. I don't think we've got players that can do what Iandolo does.
Okay, interesting. Nick, let's bring you in. Obviously, have your say on Gladwin. I'll give you the next one. Rumours of Angus being because he's over the age of 12. He's the next one to be leaving the club. And apparently wanted by Bristol Rovers and Forest Green. So at least he'll be going into League One.
Good luck to him at either of those sides. Talking about Gladwin, I was a big supporter of Gladwin, and I had that weekly debate with my lad when we go to football. He slated Gladwin something terrible, and I used to stick up for Gladwin. But I think we're missing the point. At the end of the day, It's up to the player. Nobody forced
Yes,
him
because
to
he looked
go.
like he wanted to go.
Yeah, nobody forced him to go. And, if he's been offered a shed load of dosh to go to Crawley, at the end of it, good luck to him and fair play. I don't blame him for that whatsoever. As they say,
For money.
a footballer's life is short. And if he's going there for money, obviously he must have had a good relationship with Lindsay. And that's obviously a major factor in him going there. And if you look at Gladwin, let's look at the good. Yeah, he can hit 20, 30, 40-yard passes. And there's probably not many people better in the league that can do that. But he can't tackle for a midfielder. He can hardly head the ball. So that's the negatives. So I don't
tackling.
Sorry?
I disagree about the tackling.
Oh, he can't. He couldn't tackle his way out of a paper bag. Honestly, his tackling was, for a big bloke, he was as weak as a kitten. Really, you watch him, he is as weak as a kitten.
He loves a dangly foot.
Sorry?
He loves a dangly foot.
Yeah, terrible. Absolutely terrible. So I don't think it's as big a loss as some are making out. And if we've got money for him and he was possibly going to go for a free at the end of the season, yeah, you can say that's good business. And we have got the likes of Darcy. We've got Aguiar. Let's not forget, he seems to be forgotten, who can come back in and do a job in midfield. Livinier, who played against Grimsby, to me, he looks a really decent player. So we have got players that can fill that position in. And apparently, Sandro said 1 out, 1 in. So and we've got the lad from Liverpool. That's another player. Obviously, we don't know what he's like. So the reports are that he's a bloody good player. So he could fill that role. So I don't think it's as big a loss that people are making out. As I say, I was a Gladwin supporter. I used to stick up for him and have arguments with my lad about whether he should or shouldn't be in the side. So, but just to repeat what I've said, good luck to Gladders. Fair play. You're getting a good chunk of pay. He's not going there for peanuts. He's obviously a Lindsay player, and I hope he does well as anybody wants Crawley to do. So, that's where we are with that. McDonald, that's a really difficult one, to be honest, because he's like Swindon this season, inconsistent. So, some games he looks spot on, does all the hard work, does what you want. Other games, he looks bloody terrible. So if he went, would that be a massive loss? Clayton, he's not going to be available Saturday. He's not fit enough. Gunning's already said that, but he'll be available the following week. So if McDonald went, and again, we got money for him, probably a good bit of business. We are like a centre halves. And when we talked last week, we said, what do we need? Some people were highlighting we need another centre half. I said we need a goalkeeper and a winger. But obviously, if McDonald goes, yes, we need a centre half cover. But I don't think it's as bad as everybody's making out. We're going to get churn with players, and I'm going to say I'm sure. I would hope we've got players lined up to come in when, in whatever that magic date is, we actually appoint a coach. So I'm still quite positive on how we're going to go forward.
Rich, you're the only one that's not had his say, and if I can link all the other topics in,
I was going to say, because I've bloody lost track.
so say the rumours are true. As we're talking rumours, let's say they're true. Okay, Gladwin's gone, McDonald goes, Ellis goes. Are we happy playing with zero experience, with the exception of Charlie Austin? Oh, and Johnny Williams. Sorry, Johnny Williams.
Don't forget Johnny Williams.
Not Johnny. Super Johnny Williams. Listen, I think in terms of experience, obviously, yeah, you'd ideally want that in all over the pitch in every position, mainly if we can do, to keep obviously the younger players in line and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think it's like massive. I don't think it's going to be a massive pain, to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at most of last season, we didn't always have experience in the middle of the park or in defence. We did have quite a few young players playing at the back where we didn't have as much experience. Gladwin wasn't playing every game last season. So like, and Johnny Williams wasn't playing every game last season either. So, you know, but I think it's more important to have them around the dressing room rather than them always being on the pitch. And I think that's where the main difference is going to be. Now, in terms of the actual transfers itself, I do think people are, well, I want to hope that people are worrying about absolutely nothing. I get the absolute frustration, but we always know with us, we always somehow manage to pull it out the bag. Whether or
Why
not
leave it
that's
so late?
yeah, you know, I mean, I'm the same as Woody. I mean, I'm not for leaving things late. I don't think we should. I prefer to get our business done early in the transfer window if we can do, and then obviously, if there's maybe a loan or two players at the end of the transfer window, maybe just to strengthen that depth if we need it. If the results weren't quite going that way and we needed that depth, I do feel as if that would be the right model to go for. One thing I do agree with them, I agree with all the fan base on this one, that I have absolutely zero confidence in Sandro Di Michele. I do think he's all talk, and even when he does talk, he's absolutely painful as fuck. And you know, I don't think the signings that he has brought in have been convincing enough for me, and probably for all the fan base, to be quite honest with you. I think it's been the other signings that either Clem's had an impact in bringing into the club, or signings that we had pre-Sandro. So, you know, I think, but I do think we are going to get some players. I do think we will leave it late to the transfer window. The win from Grimsby, I think Woody covered it about 40 minutes ago. When, what was I going to say there? Oh yeah. I think in terms of the Grimsby game, winning 5-0 and not having a game since then, I think it has covered up the cracks a little bit. And, you know, if we hadn't got those two, if we did play those two games, Walsall and Stevenage, and we lost them both, I think we'd all be having a completely different conversation right now. But
well, yeah, it'd be hashtag Morris out, wouldn't it?
Well, I think we've got to trust. I mean, I don't believe in all the ITK pages or anything like that. I think they're an absolute load of bollocks. It's only like the proper journalists that I really believe in that will probably...
proper journalist is going to cut deep with some people.
Probably will. And, you know, I've got a bit, and I'm not talking about Agent Ben Nichols here. But in terms, seriously though, I just think, don't know, did Sandro bring Bryn in? Don't know. Did Sandro bring Clayton in? Yeah, don't know.
And the thing is,
sure about that.
When it comes to success, if we don't get promoted this season, the recruitment wouldn't have been good enough. So, you know, at the end of the day, we might be in a playoff place, but that doesn't mean we're good enough to win the playoffs. So yeah. I'd argue Hutton as well. I don't think Hutton's been brilliant.
I disagree. I think Hutton has been. I don't think he started great, but I do think he has massively improved. And do I think he can get better? Yeah, I don't think he's even hit the ceiling. Yeah, he can be a really good player, and I think maybe in a season or two he will be a League One, possibly low end Championship player, possibly. In terms of obviously Gladwin and Ellis, I mean, obviously I spoke about that Ellis with Joe a couple of minutes ago, and I completely agree. I just think it'd be a shame for him, really, because he is really well loved. Whether or not he is the best player here or he's the worst player here, it doesn't really matter. He's been here, he's been a loyal servant, and I would like him to stay maybe to see us get promoted, possibly, because we've got a good chance of it. We've got a very good chance of it. So, and it's the same with Gladwin as well. It's a shame that he's had to leave, because I know he's really well appreciated here, very well respected here. He didn't have a great first season back. He had his moments, but he didn't have the best. But I think this year he's really, really shone. He's known what he's had to do in order to get back to fitness and to be able to put in good performances week in, week out. Whether or not he was the best player on the pitch, whether or not he was the worst player on the pitch, whether or not his performances were overhyped at the start of the season, I don't necessarily agree with that. But in terms of being a key figure on the pitch, I think that's massive. But also,
I think the overriding.
Sorry, Woody, go on.
I was going to say, I think the overriding thing as well, to back up what Rich is saying, we've only won one game 5-0. You know what I mean? We've only won. You know, we can't get too carried away and thinking because we've beaten Grimsby 5-0, all of a sudden we're going to win. We're going to win the bloody league. Yeah. Gladwin played against Northampton, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he played against Northampton. You know, so like arguably one of the most resilient performances we've had this season, and it's kind of like, and you know, from the, like I say, quality versus quantity. Yeah, okay. I've got that tweet, Fifey, if that's all right. So of the 30 players we've got signed on, which didn't include Yandelo and Gladwin, 8 of them are youth team players, and we were playing them in the EFL Trophy. But we can't rely on those 8 players to do the business for us in a league where we want to get promoted. That leaves us with 22 players. 3 of those are injured, 2 of them being Baldry and Bran. They're obviously going to be out pretty much for the rest of the season. Tom Clayton
Harry's
will be
possibly
back
as well.
Yeah, Tom Clayton will be back soon, but there's no actual time frame. That puts us down to 19 players. The maximum amount of players in the EFL League Matchday squad is 80. So we're only a few injuries away from not being able to fill a full Matchday squad with senior players. And of that, we've got 4 players in on loan. Of those 4, we've only got assurances that one of them is here for the season. So it's, you know, it quickly that number this, and I'm not saying we're at panic station at the moment, because I don't think I do agree that we don't need to panic, but we've got to be concerned. Like, we've got to be, you know, there's got to be, you know, if we lose tomorrow, and I'm telling you now, if we lose tomorrow, that will ruin our season. It will ruin our season.
I agree. Well, I don't know if it will ruin. I wouldn't.
Oh,
say
sorry,
no.
That's a step too far. It's a step too far.
Yeah.
But if we lose tomorrow, I don't think we're realizing how much of an impact that will have.
Yeah, I think
we're now at that stage. I mean,
yeah,
exactly. And
I just wanted to go back to my point about Gladwin. Sorry, it was just, of how important he was, not only just to the first team as well. Obviously, there's a lot of young players in the first team as well. But actually, I was just speaking to somebody. Her son is actually in the academy at Swindon, and Gladwin, obviously, as we all know, is doing his UEFA B license, and he was actually their coach. So he was coaching them during the training and games and stuff like that. So not only was he an important figure in the first team, but he was a massive figure in the academy. And she was just saying that her son, that was his favorite player, one of her favorite players, you know, and somebody that he looks up to, because he would have been very young, obviously, when Gladwin first came to the club and had that massive impact. And to have him now as a coach is probably, wow, just like an absolute dream to have that. And now the fact that obviously that has gone, I think it would have probably a bigger impact on the younger generation than it would probably with us. I mean, like I say, I'm gutted that he's left, but also I'm quite glad that we have got money for him. But also at the same time, though, that experience was probably quite key. But it's a shame. Really.
And as Craig said, I know Dale Caudry, I think his name was, makes a fair point about Sandro. He's brought in players, but if we don't get one step further, at least than last year, we saw there was did anybody see that graphic that went round? I think it went in our chat. 2 players left from last season. The team that got into the playoffs. So if we don't get into the playoffs this year, we haven't replaced the minimum that we needed to do. So are those players that we brought in good enough?
And also, if you look at our best first 11 this season from last season, pound for pound, it's nowhere near as good as last season's strongest 11, and that team wasn't good enough to go up. So we've got a lot of recruitment to come in. That's why I say Sandro's recruitment hasn't been good enough. Yeah, Khan's been decent. Hutton's been decent, but they're not decent to get us promoted. This is what I've been saying all season. The recruitment hasn't been good enough. If we go up this season, fine. I'll put my hands up and say Sandro got it right. No problem at all. But at the moment, as we've all said, I do not have faith that he knows the best or he's even has the best contacts to get in players. And let's face it, the closer it gets to that transfer window closing, the less options we have to get decent players in.
Do you know what though? We're giving a lot of credit.
And it's the bedding in time. It's the bedding in time as well. Like we've all worked in places. We've all played football, right? We've all played football. How many times have you played football with 5 brand new faces? How long does that take to bed in? That takes quite a while. Not 5 aside, Rich.
Aside, actually.
I think if you're playing, all right, mate. Fucking hell, Jesus.
Sorry.
Oh, blimey. If you're lucky, mate, you might get a transfer to Wootton Bassett. But it's I think that's a fundamental issue for me is the fact that I'm not comfortable with the fact that if we are going to replace what's going out and add to the quality, then we could have 4 or 5 players turning up on deadline day. That's a lot better than him.
Just a quick one on. We're giving a lot of credit to Sandro here about bringing these players in. I don't think he's had fuck all to do with them, to be honest with you, because we've got recruiters out there. We've got Les Caffrey or whoever it is going out and scouting all these players and bringing them in. Whether or not Sandro is maybe influencing him, but you've got to remember he came from Man City. Sandro, where did he come from?
Well, listen,
we're missing. I think,
and he's an analyst as well. He's not a director of football, as Sandro Di Michele. He's always been an analyst. He's done.
Let's take it back to some basics, right? We have been playing for most of the season pretty shite. I think everybody will agree that.
Yeah,
we've had 3 or 4. We've had 3 or 4 good performances, and we are 5th in the league now. A lot of people criticise Gladwin. Crab football, sideways, slow. Now, how much of that was down to Lindsay? Because Gunning is said in his press conference today, we will move the ball forward. We will get it forward quicker. At Gillingham, we were rubbish. We were too slow. We played poor. And if players don't perform in the first half, I will take players off and replace them. That's the difference. So to me, a lot of this was down to Lindsay. To be 5th in playing absolute shite shows what A, a poor league this is, and B, I don't think we need another 5 players. The players we've got there, if they're coached correctly and they've got a manager that can motivate and push them forward, that top 3rd spot is there for the taking. Believe me.
Hang on, that's what I'm saying, Ned. Literally, I think we're all worrying a little bit too much.
We are. We are.
Yeah, but that being said, transfer deadline day comes, we get rid of Ellis and Angus.
Yes.
And we don't sign anybody.
No, if we get rid of Angus, we need another centre half, without a doubt.
We'll have to sign.
I don't think it's a guarantee. I think we're acting on guarantees. We're acting on guarantees of a person who said 1 in, 1 out, who also said, I still stand by it, said 2 weeks ago we would have a manager, and we haven't got one. The facts are there. There's a fucking fact for you.
That's actual
fact. We're told 2 weeks ago we would have a head coach, and we haven't got one. And we're still relying on the fact he's saying 1 in, 1 out. It doesn't make sense. We can't. You can't take the positive without taking the negative.
Yeah, no, I agree, Woody. And the only thing I would say on the flip side to your comment, Nick, because I agree with probably 90% of it. The motivation side, I agree completely. But you could flip that round to say we were playing that badly and 5th in the table. Lindsay gets credit for that, surely, if we're playing badly and 5th in the table.
No, I don't. No, I don't agree at all. Again, and I'll hold my hands up. I was quite happy when Lindsay was appointed, and I've said that, and I won't backtrack on that. But through the season, Lindsay had proved that he wasn't the man to play the fast attacking flowing football that he promised. We did not get that. We've had it in one game from Gunning. And that's what everybody's wanted. So to me, the problem
That doesn't mean he's going to do it in every game.
No, I don't. No, of course not. We don't know that because he's only played one bloody game. We don't know, do we? But his philosophy is, and he said it: if players aren't performing on what he wants in the first 45 minutes, he will make changes, and that's what he will do. How many times have we said this season, Christ, we don't make a change until the 80th minute? Too bloody late by then. Time and time again, when we've been absolute rubbish for 45 minutes and nothing happens. We've had it all season. So to me, I'm sorry, as much as I like Lindsay, and yeah, he's a top bloke and he's a real good man, and good luck to the guy. He's gone to Crawley. I hope he does well, apart from when he plays us. That was the problem. We have got, even with the squad we've got now, and if we lose McDonald, if Clayton's fit, to me, that's a replacement. That's not a big deal. Iandolo, I do like him. He's tough. He tackles. But we've got, as I say, Aguiar and Darcy that can cover that.
Aguiar's on loan.
Yeah, we can bring him back.
Yeah,
that's not
we can bring him back.
That's not a problem.
Yeah, but the fact he's on loan in the first place.
Yeah, but who put him out on loan? Lindsay. So
I don't think Lindsay had any say in Aguiar going on loan.
Okay, well, all right. Aguiar wasn't getting in the side, so he needs game time, and that's a sensible thing, is to put him out on loan. And I think with the core of players we've got, we are good enough to aim for a top 3 spot without a doubt. And if we get a coach in that can do what we need, and if it's Jody Morris, to me, we don't know whether he would be good, bad, or indifferent. But to me, that would be a good move for us, and we can then move forward. So I'm quite positive, and I will say now, top 3 is there for the taking. And
right,
it's up to those players. As let's quote our current coach. He draws the lines, up to the players to fill the lines in. Let's have a change of tact, because very quickly before I do, I've had a question sent in. I've had a question asking, Craig, what is behind you? You're muted, Craig. Craig, you're muted.
Craig's on mute.
Craig, you're muted.
Craig's on mute.
Sorry, my kitchen's a bit of a mess, so I've got a ghost behind me.
It's Gladwin.
Yeah, it's Gladwin.
Right. So, Craig, you used the statement that you're not. I think you said you're not convinced by Sandra. I think that was the word you used. Thankfully, what we have back is Positive Ben. And what Positive Ben is about to do is tell us that virtually everything we've just said is rubbish. We don't need to worry. Everything is absolutely fine, just the way it is, isn't it, Ben?
Well, everything's not exactly super positive as you just made out, but you said not to panic, and then it's been followed by a lot of panicky comments. I think the voice of reason so far, which I've heard, is Nick. He's been fantastic. What Nick's been saying.
Why don't you just marry him?
I'll start with what he said. I'll go back to
this is the guy that wanted Scott Lindsay out after we won against Southampton.
We were 5th despite Scott Lindsay, not because Scott Lindsay. No, despite Scott Lindsay, because performances were pretty awful for quite some time.
But he still got us there.
Yeah, but we were 5th despite Scott Lindsay, not because of him. I think what was good.
What an insult to the coaching world.
I'm going to be interrupted loads in the next few minutes, but I think what was good about the Grimsby game is Gunning picked up on that, and we did exactly what Scott Lindsay didn't do. The Gillingham game, the other reverse game, was a perfect example, because in that game Gillingham went down to 10 men, and Scott Lindsay was a very reactionary manager. He was sit down, we'll wait and see. Well, something will happen if we just keep playing as we do, and something will eventually come along. Where the Gunning was like, we'll force the issue. They're rocking here, boys. We'll go 3-1, 3-1-6, and we'll go at them. And we created opportunities, and we forced the door open, and then we went for the throat. Lindsay never did that, and the team showed that they are capable of creating goal-scoring chances and getting amongst them. Now, that's just one of my points. That's something. It's only one game, but that's where Lindsay failed. We wouldn't have done that if Scott Lindsay was manager. We wouldn't have played like that.
So
So
Ben,
hopefully he plays.
you said you were going to get interrupted, so I think what's best to do is for each point you make, we have a chance of retort.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. It's
so
just I've got a bit to say.
Yeah, no, I know. So let us retort to each point individually. So what I would say to that, because again, I agree in the most part, but you can't have it both ways. So you said that Nick's been the voice of reason, so therefore you're agreeing predominantly with what Nick said.
Mostly what he said, yeah.
So Nick has quoted that Gav draws the lines, it's up to the players to fill it in.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then surely that's the same for Lindsay, right? So therefore, if the players aren't doing it, that's on the players on the pitch. The players, regardless, I could send the 11 fools out and say, "You guys know how to play football. Go and play football."
No. Lindsay will say, "Yeah, how many times did we have the opportunities to cross the ball, and there was only one in the box to cross to? We didn't have bodies in the box. We weren't playing attacking football. Gunning was playing attacking football. We committed players into the box. We had 5 different goal scorers that scored against Drew.
We did. That's factually true.
Because we got bodies in the box.
But those same bodies were on the pitch in other games.
Yeah, but
with the exception of
they
Charlie
were
Austin.
yards from goal. They were at 25. They're not going to score.
Lindsay's running for them.
I would add though.
Hold on, you two. This isn't the lower league look, yeah. All right, it's not the Come on.
Still only 0.1.
I would say though, it's very easy for Gunning to have an attacking philosophy when he's only got one game.
And against Grimsby.
Against Grimsby.
10
Finally, someone who talks sense.
10 men against Grimsby is different to 10 men against Gillingham.
Yeah, but
we drew 0-0 with 10 men against Gillingham.
All right, but Salford drew with us when we had 10 men.
Yeah, that's irrelevant.
We didn't put them under pressure. We didn't play cricket through the final lines, and we
took 23 shots on goal against Gillingham.
We let Gillingham just defend, get into their little huddle and defend. And we didn't force the issue. It was just too slow.
Yeah, but Grimsby didn't go into a little huddle, did they? They left themselves exposed with 10 men.
The point I was trying to make is it's easy
Jack.
for Gunning to put 6 attackers on the pitch because he isn't going to get the job anyway. So it wouldn't have mattered if we got beat 4-0 or won 4-0. He wasn't getting the job. So for him, for Gunning's point of view, he's just got to go, well, fuck it, we'll just go for it because what does it matter?
Yeah, but Joe, I think that's the point. That's
Lindsay, on the other hand, was scared of losing games because he had a job. He had a job that he was trying to keep, and he was scared of losing games.
Yeah, but sorry, mate. That's the whole point. And what Fifey said is, it's up to the players that go across the line. And what Gunning said is, I draw the lines. Lindsay obviously wasn't drawing the right lines. His lines were crossed, so they wouldn't do it. They were doing what Lindsay wanted, which is why we were playing crab football. To the back, to the cross, to the side, to the back, to the side. That's down to the coach setting the scene for what the players should do. Gunning has changed the philosophy. We will play faster, quicker, attacking football. One game, agreed. And that's not his fault because 2 games were postponed. Yeah. That's the difference. Yes, it's up to the players at the end of the day, but they've got to be given guidance, direction, support. And that's whether you're a footballer or whether you're somebody in any job. That's what a manager needs to give you. And that's what Gunning is giving them.
But Nick,
I totally agree with that, Nick. I do totally agree with what you're saying. But if Swindon come out and said, right, Gavin Gunning's the coach till the end of the season, there is no way he's playing 6 attackers.
100% agree.
Well, you do.
100% agree. And by the way, we didn't beat Grimsby 5-0 because we went for it. Just solely because of that. We beat Grimsby because Grimsby carried on playing an open defensive football. Gillingham stuck a bus in front of goal when they went to 10 men, okay? And we still managed 23 shots, by the way. Regardless of how we played, we still managed 23 shots.
Those like the 19 we had at Bradford.
Yeah, but either way, Grimsby still opened up the game. They still opened up the game. That's the reason we scored 5. It's not the reason we won. It's the reason we scored 5.
Yeah, but Ben's point was that for the Grimsby game, Gunning changed the formation at half time.
Yeah.
And we changed to suit us to win that game. Yeah. And we did not do that when we played away at Gillingham.
Lindsay was a reactionary
simple as that.
But So I want to let Ben come back in so he can make his second point. The only thing I'm trying to explain to you, Nick, is I agree. I agree with what you're saying, and I agree with what the head coach's responsibility is. But if you take, for instance, okay, we keep saying about how we had X amount of players in the box. At any one time, we would have had Jeffcott, Wakelin, Shade, Darcy, Williams, any amalgamation of these players on the pitch. Just because 4 of them were in the box against Grimsby, those same 4 could have been in the box against any other opposition in any game.
No.
Because once they're on the pitch, it is their responsibility to do their job.
They're not like just go attack.
How is it not their responsibility to do their job?
Because they're told how to play. They would be told that they will sit in those zones, they will sit in those areas, and this is what I want you to do. I'll give you an example, right? Paolo Di Canio, when he was playing, the quote from him was, he was told to sit out on the wing and not to move from there. That was the directions from his coach. And if anybody's watched Di Canio play, to stick him out on the wing is an absolute ridiculous thing to do. But he had to sit there because that's what his coach told him to do. And they will be under an instruction on how they want to play. Lindsay, I'm afraid, and as much as I wanted him and I was happy with him, played a very, very negative game. And the difference with Gunning, he totally reversed that and played a very attacking game. And to me, now I might be looking through rose-tinted glasses because we won 5-0. Just let the players attack and play more of a natural game. And it worked. Saturday, it might not work. We might get beat if he plays the same way. We don't know. It's at the end of the day, the coach sets the scene, and yes, the players have to deliver, but a lot of it is down to how they're coached to do a job against a particular team.
Right, let's let Ben have his second point then, because I get the feeling whatever he says is going to...
There's 3 that I need to make. My point 2 is, again, this is opinion. Obviously, I don't know this is fact, but this is just opinion. I don't think we let Reed go until we had Kane tied up. And I don't think we've let Gladwin go until we've got this other player tied up, because we're not stupid. We know it's going to leave a hole. We're not going to leave it to the last minute. We'll pick someone. Or also, there's an assumption that we're just going to sign some academy kid. Why is that assumption? Is Fraser Blake Tracy an academy kid?
Because people like yourself, Ben, quite rightly said we've got rid of Gladwin because of his age. So we must be looking for only young players.
Can I check a theory? Before we talk about Kane, okay, we bought Kane in. You might be right with the replacement. Could we maybe not be getting rid of Gladwin and Reed as high earners to pay for Austin?
No, I thought Clem was the rumours that Clem was fronting the bill, but that's hearsay. We can't say that.
We can't legally do that.
We can't prove it. Yeah, but he's got a company that could put money. He can put it into his company. Therefore, then the company can use it as sponsorship. I don't know. There's lots of different ways he can invest into the club with his own money. He can just put it into a company, and that company pays for it.
So if we've got someone over the line, why haven't we announced him today?
Because there's no why do we need to? Why can't we just leave it till Monday or Tuesday?
Among the fan base?
It doesn't have to be done. We didn't announce Kane till a day or 2 after Reed went. The next
day after. Yeah, next day.
So we
didn't sell Reed the day before.
Tuesday, but what's
we didn't sell Reed the day before the
game. He was already gone. Reed was already gone on that Saturday. He'd even gone to Mansfield. He'd even watched that game at Mansfield.
So Kane was a couple of days later. But why does he have to be announced the same day? Why does he have to? Because he's not.
So Ben, here
so are you happier if everyone's announced on deadline day? Just fuck the rest of the window and sign 10 players on deadline day.
That doesn't matter. Does it matter? And like, long as the deal's done, the deal's probably been done for a week. I don't know.
So he could have been in the squad for tomorrow. He could have been in the squad for tomorrow.
That doesn't make sense. If the deal's going to be
like to sell Gladwin. But
to be fair,
a lot of clubs work.
Just one at a time, guys. Remember, so we can actually understand what's being said.
We will not sign players until players are sold. So once we know that we've got that deal, we're not actually going to announce it. We're not going to give it the green light.
That is
Gladwin's definitely gone. So we've got this deal. It's done. It's sorted. Right, Crawley, you can have Gladwin now. and then within the next day or two, we're going to announce this new guy. That's usually how it works with this sort of thing.
So
And
Ben,
I'm pretty certain who we'll get as many ins as outs. I'm pretty confident.
So Ben, why
But we needed more ins.
Why should we let our player go first? If that is, say for example, Gladwin's been done for a week, but the signing that we were going to bring in was also done for a week. Why do we have to let that club first announce that, and then all of us have to panic? Because
if we sign him up, and the Gladwin deal falls through, then we've got too many midfielders. And then we've got an extra midfielder.
But are we not running the risk now that we've got too few midfielders?
No, but if that deal's already done,
that we've got to play, and Gladwin's quite a high earner. So
but if that deal's already done, then what's the point?
Player to come in, because we've got good numbers in midfield at the minute.
But the counter argument to that again is you've said if we announce we sign the player and the Gladwin deal falls through, we've got too many midfielders. We've now announced the Gladwin deal. What if this supposed deal that you're telling us that we've had arranged for God knows how many days, but not going to announce until a week after? What if that now falls through?
Well,
we don't have enough midfielders.
What if it's already signed, and then what if it's already done? It's just not been
announced. That's purely working on assumption. What we know is Gladwin's gone.
We're working on the assumption that Swindon are just going to start now looking for a replacement and make about 2 or 3 youth academy signings on deadline day. I don't think that's going to happen. Honestly, don't think that.
But the fact of the matter is, Gladwin's gone and no one's in.
I don't think we're deliberately going to screw ourselves over just for 50k.
But isn't the deadline day on Tuesday?
Yes.
So we're not going to announce anything over the weekend.
No.
So we've got Monday or Tuesday. So it looks pretty last minute to me.
Well, yeah, but unless it's already done. Unless it's done, though.
Yeah, but if it's done, they'd announce it.
Unless it's the 2 players, it says, right, the Gladwin's still done. Right, we'll get up, sign a contract.
You don't hold up the deal, Ben. You don't hold up the deal. If it's been sent through.
You get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. They're not going to go, right, we sold Gladwin. Let's start having a look.
Yeah, but okay, so let's look at it from the perspective.
It's so short-sighted and stupid.
Let's look at the perspective, though. So you made some valid points about why the Gladwin deal is good business, yeah?
Yeah.
So let's say the club have agreed, and based on your points, that's good business. We'll do that deal.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean to say we have something sorted to replace him. They might see that as a good.
That would be ridiculous letting him go. It would be ridiculous.
Is it better business to lose him for money now or lose him for free in the summer?
But Ben, you said we already had good competition in midfield anyway. So what's the point?
Because we thought we can improve with someone else. We can make money on Gladwin and improve the squad with someone else.
So what does it matter?
Let's just wait and see before we all start freaking out what this team is like.
Says the guy who argued with us for 2 weeks about Charlie Austin.
Yeah, well, there's a special player though, isn't he? That's emotionally driven. That's emotionally driven. That is emotionally driven.
Rob's tweeted in saying, "Based on Ben's theory, does this mean we are waiting for some coaches to leave so that Morris can come in?"
That also brings on my third coach.
They've already left. It's not a problem.
Go on, Ben. Let's bring in your third point.
Apparently, the assistant's still in a job at the moment, and for the selling club or the person that's letting go, it's worthwhile financially to hold on to the deal as long as possible and play cat and mouse, so it's more financially viable to them. That's generally how things work. So they'll play silly buggers and draw it out so they can get as much money as they can out of us.
So go on, tell us your third point.
So instantly, then it doesn't come good business.
That is common. That is common within transfers. There is a lot of cat and mouses. It happened with McCurdy, where the deal was dragged out right to the very last minute. It happens. It happens a lot.
I don't believe for one moment that we've got a deal agreed with a player and we're just holding on.
I don't believe for 1 second
for a player to leave. That's ridiculous.
Guys, remember one at a time.
No player in their right mind is going to agree a deal with a new club and be told, right, you've got to wait a week before we get rid of this one before you can come in. No player is going to agree.
Lined up all the ready-made replacements are lined up all the time.
No, they're not. They're lined up, but the deal isn't agreed. The deal isn't agreed. The deal isn't agreed. Because if the deal was agreed, they'd announce the signing.
It works.
Fifey, can I just make one point very quickly?
Yeah, go on.
It's a pity a certain person is no longer watching us because there's so much disagreement that this is not fools rush in because we don't do that. All I'll say.
Well,
And sorry,
I've just
Paddy,
had Mike Dixon message me.
real Paddy Stavros. There's your salute.
Paddy
on.
has tweeted in, Ben, just before you come to point 3, because that's what we'll do next, because I'm sure it'll spark another passionate discussion. Paddy's tweeted in, at Fools Rush In, I like Ben, but that theory is 24-carat bananas. Cannot believe what I'm hearing.
No, well, it is not bananas to have to sign someone, sell someone, knowing that you've got someone lined up to replace them. That's not bananas. That's sensible.
No, I agree. So let's level this out. I agree in principle with what you're saying there, Ben. That what we're trying to point out is we've sold someone and not actually announced we've replaced them. So as it stands, at time of talking, despite how much you're telling us we're idiots for not agreeing with you, we are a midfielder down.
Yes, we are a midfielder down.
But
that's it.
That's the fact. That's the fact.
Officially, we are a midfielder down, but you don't know that.
But you don't know.
No, good to come. You don't know this.
How is me not knowing? Okay, but here's the thing. How is me stating the fact that we are a midfielder down and you saying, I don't know, we haven't agreed something? How is mine any more flawed than you actually not knowing we haven't signed someone,
because
but saying we quite clearly have because we'd be stupid not to?
Again, amongst a common misconception, this club actually doesn't want to go up. I think this club actually wants promotion and is actually quite a sanely run. And it would be insane.
I would love to have clipped some of your things over the last 2 months and show you those.
To let established players go this close to deadline without having some sort of contingency plan lined up to replace them. It would be insane.
I'm going to stick up for Ben here. I actually agree with him.
Thank you.
There's absolutely nothing to stop us announcing a player at 1 o'clock tomorrow. And he's still in the matchday squad because they could have signed today. There's nothing to stop us.
We used to do that under Di Canio.
Exactly.
We did it for Canio.
Well, that's because we signed a player every fucking day.
And they were only on like a short-term loan as well.
To go back to Craig's point about players having to wait when a deal's done, Charlie Austin waited nearly 2 weeks when he'd already signed his contract.
A bit different though, wasn't it? He was already leaving Melbourne, wasn't he?
And to be fair, Sky announced it. Sky announced it about a week before the club did.
Yeah, but the other thing is we bring Aguilar back and we've replaced Gladwin because Aguilar's out on loan. So we're in the same position, same number of midfielders.
I don't think this club we're nearly close to a panic point yet. If it gets to 6 o'clock on Tuesday and we've not got any replacements in, then I'll start freaking out. But I honestly think there is deals in the pipeline already done that are lined up to replace players. I think we'll lose more players. I think McDonald's going to go. I think we may lose one more. I think we may lose a big player. I think we might even lose Hutton. But then I think a big player will come in to replace.
Hutton won't go. No.
So just catching up.
We never know what happens. I hope not. I hope Hutton don't go. But
just to bring everyone up to speed, Banks, I know there was one more point you wanted to make. Paddy's tweeted in again. Ben, D. McKaylee will love you having that theory. He will love you and he will love it. Need a pint of whiskey. And H the Duck has also tweeted in at Fools Rush In. Whoever just commented, this is better than loose women. That'll be Joe's comment there. Let me just bring that back up.
Every time.
Just made me spit my beer out with loads of laughing emojis. So Joe is doing more entertaining. Come on then, Ben, hit us with point number 3.
The last one, the last one. I think I touched on it earlier. That I'm not worried about Morris not being announced yet. I think it's going to happen, and I think there's a bit of panic. We've not got manager yet. We would have. The amount of this has been coverage by so many different sources. If there was an issue, it would have leaked.
Is the issue that he hasn't signed?
No, not yet. Not yet. Sometimes these things take time to drag over the line. There is cat and mouse done with negotiations. Sometimes
there's more cat and mouse in this podcast than a fucking pet store.
Yeah, no, but during negotiations,
Tom and Jerry.
Sometimes one party will drag it out to benefit themselves.
Agreed.
And I think this might well be the case According to reports, our assistant manager is already in employment, and we need to break a deal to get him out of that contract, and that could be a very good reason without knowing.
So what you're saying is, Ben, is that we're still nowhere near closer to having a manager.
Basically. No, the personal. No, I think Morris could be done because everyone's confident it's all tied up. I think the assistant managers, personal terms might have been agreed. It might just be an agent that's dragging it out. It might be the club that's just dragging it out. But it's probably going to happen.
But by your theory, we could have it all wrapped up by now, but we might not announce it for another week.
No, because the club, Swindon will want this done as soon as possible. Swindon would want to have him on the touchline this weekend, but it's not always up to us. I don't think it's our fault that he's not been announced yet.
Would that not be the same with any player, though? Say we signed an absolute cracking player from Championship, that would have a massive, massive impact on our squad. And we had him all wrapped up and all ready to go, and yet we're not announcing him for another week. Would you not? I'm not saying there is. I'm just saying in theory.
I know what you're trying. I'm trying to get at. But I'm just saying that we wouldn't have let Gladwin go if that was the case.
Ben, I agree about the negotiations. Sometimes these things can take a little bit longer than expected.
I'm not denying that.
Can I just throw a couple of things at you on that same point then? Yeah. First of all, Paddy's tweeted in. Is Sarah in the background, by the way?
No, she's gone upstairs.
Oh, that's a shame. Could you relay a message for Paddy, please?
Yes.
At Fools Rush In, can Ben's wife get footage of Ben freaking out on Tuesday, please? Please, Ben's wife, please. The second thing I want to throw at you, as much as I agree regarding the negotiations, we all commented in our WhatsApp group about Forest Green's appointment that took roughly 18 hours.
No, that's not right, though, is it?
That was
that was a done deal before that.
I think Ferguson was already agreed, signed and delivered before.
So when that was a done deal beforehand, we knew Lindsay was going.
Yeah, we knew Lindsay was going.
So we're complaining about what, 2.5 weeks or something here. So realistically, we're actually saying this has been going on for 4 weeks minimum.
Oh yeah, do you know the actual whole process? I'm a bit pissed about. It's taken far too long. The whole process end game is a bit different to the whole process itself. Apparently, we spoke to about 20 people. That's far too many people. We should have had a short list of about 5.
But we want to get it right as well. It's the other thing that's been going around.
We had a short list of about 25 by the sounds of the amount.
Yeah, we on our own had a short list of about 25 at one point.
Both me, Woody, and Mark were on the short list for fuck's sake.
There's people apparently on that short list that never even should have been considered. Like Matt Taylor shouldn't have even been considered.
Or Paul Caddis.
Shouldn't have even been considered because he's just not. They're just not the people to take Swindon Town on.
Yeah, you can't take any notice of the bookies. They talk. All they want is your money, isn't it?
I don't think it's the bookies it's not, Nick. It's not just the bookies that talk bollocks when it comes to Paul Caddis, anyway. So
no, exactly. And the other thing is, we've all said all along, let's get the right person in. If that takes a bit longer, so be it. And Forest Green Rovers have appointed somebody fairly quickly. I mean, let's face it, they're just fucking tin pot anyway, and they're going to go down, so it doesn't make no difference.
But that is a stunning appointment, and that is the
well, is it? Is it?
I agree. I think it is.
Is it? Ferguson is
it?
He's regarded very highly as a coach. Ferguson is.
So Jody Morris.
Yeah, but he'll be
Ferguson's in there. He's signed, sealed, delivered, and in there doing his job.
Yeah, but he'll be signed, sealed, and delivered because he can't eat meat anymore.
I think Ferguson was signed, sealed, and delivered before Birchall was fired. Myself.
Yeah, he was.
He was already approached and signed before Birchall.
Yeah, but surely when we knew that Lindsay was going, didn't we have an idea?
Yeah, we should have done that. I agree.
It wholly agree with you. This long.
We should have actually been having lots of meetings when Lindsay's back and employing someone. We should have fired Lindsay long before.
So what if we don't get the deal over the line with this assistant that we're apparently talking to?
And we're back
we
to
lose Jody Morris as well, and we're back to square one again.
Well, I think personally,
and the process goes on another.
The club seem pretty confident, and that everything that you read seems pretty confident. It's going to make the
person who's confident was confident 3 weeks ago.
It may well do, or he's going to have to choose another assistant.
Mate, yeah, like Woody says, the person that says they're confident is only as confident as the person that told that person, and then that person, and then that person.
Well,
you know?
all I'm saying,
it's
if there's a
literally
problem, we'd have
anything
heard
can
about
just.
it. If there was a problem, we'd have heard about it.
But why would we?
Yeah, why are we privy? We
Because
haven't,
we haven't heard about Gladwin's
any...
replacement.
Yeah.
No. Look,
I'm winding you
yeah,
up. I'm winding you up on that.
The whole saga, the manager saga, has been very, very, very well reported in depth, and lots of leaks and lots of stuff that's been going on, probably more than the club would like. And we know more than we actually
And the
should.
fact half of it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, depending who you listen to, but yeah.
There are certain outlets who clearly know what they're talking about, who have reported at least 3 different managers have all but agreed, and we're still sat here having the same conversation 3 weeks later.
I mean, everybody was so convinced that Artel was going to be announced this week, and then that got.
Well, he got dropped, didn't he? He got dropped because the Artel was going to become the new manager, but he got dropped because.
By who?
Swindon, they changed their mind. We went for
when Jody Morris became available.
When Jody Morris became available, because Jody Morris was unattainable to start with.
I think if that was the case, I think that could end up being a big mistake. Because if this Morris deal falls through,
because if you had that chance with Artel, then I mean, don't get me wrong, I still would rather have Jody Morris. But if you had that chance with David Artel, why the fuck would you drop that? Somebody that has experience in this league. I'm not saying he was my personal favourite, but I will say this, though. If you had that chance to wrap that deal up, why the fuck would you not take it?
That's
the thing.
I just can't.
I listened to the Lower League Looks interview with Artel. And when he talked about his time at Crewe, it sounded like that the setup that they had there was very similar to what we've got at Swindon, and he brought into that. So he, I wasn't as big a, fan of Artel, but I wouldn't be annoyed if he was appointed as manager. But he just seemed like a perfect fit for what the club want. And now the club have turned around and said no, and are going for Morris. It's a big fucking gamble, and if it doesn't pay off. If they go back to Artel and he sticks 2 fingers up, that could screw our season.
If it's true, it should be the case.
He's
been interviewed, hasn't he?
If that is the truth about Artel, I think Clem has just played Russian roulette there.
Yeah.
All right, let's do one last one then before we move on to something a bit more fun, because we have received a message in saying, is there any chance we can have fun fools back? These tense discussions are hurting my head.
No.
So one last one then, just to sign off everything on the ticker. We received a couple of tweets yesterday, a couple of messages about supposedly, and I don't know. I'm the least ITK of everyone at FRI. Let's be honest. But we received a couple of messages saying, what do we think about the supposed walkout in training? So I'll just quickly go round. Do we think that actually happened, Nick?
Sorry, who walked out?
Apparently, a whole host of players just walked out of training because they weren't happy with the current situation. I personally don't think it happened. We would have known.
I've got no idea, but to me that sounds a load of bullshit.
Joe?
I can't imagine players at this stage with no permanent coach would say we're going to walk out, because in the long term that's not going to do them any good. So that just sounds people stirring the pot, in my opinion.
Joe?
This is the problem with social media, isn't it? There's so much bullshit spread around everywhere,
especially on that Facebook page as well.
Yeah,
that Swindon Town Facebook page. People would just put any sort of shite on there, saying that
if this manager searches 20 years ago, I grant you're in a transfer window, I accept that. But if this had been 10, 15 years ago, where there's no Twitter, no Facebook, none of us would be panicking after 2 weeks.
No Fools Rush in 20 years ago either, though.
Exactly. But now, because everyone spouts all these names that everybody knows about, and they're in the know, and they're sat in a car park in a car or whatever, it sends people into a frenzy. It does. And everyone thinks they've seen Dave Artel in Burger King and they've seen Jody Morris at Magic Roundabout, but
he's still stuck on it.
At the end of the day, the only people that know 100%, Clem, Rob Angus, Sandra.
Yeah.
The rest of us are
well, Clem and Angus. I'm not sure Sandro knows 100%.
Fair enough. Clem and Rob. The rest of us, whoever we are, we're just speculating. It's just opinions.
We're doing it all in the name of entertainment, although we seem to be hurting people's heads.
We're all sat here shouting at each other tonight, not because we don't like each other, but because we have different opinions.
Love you, Joe.
We can sit here for 2 hours and all shout the same things, and we'll still be having the same opinion that we got now. So, I can't see it. I can't see a massive walkout in training. That just seems a bit bizarre to me.
Craig, do you think there would have been a walkout?
Sorry, can you put up what was it? AC just put. It was like the second from last thing you put up. Yeah,
this one here.
He's spot on there. I think. This is the first I've heard about the walkout, though. I don't really understand the context of it, really, to have an opinion. You know, are they walking out because of Gunning? Are they walking out because of Sandro?
They probably walked out because it was the end of the day.
Aren't they training at Foundation Park at the moment? Marlborough College are probably due to go on there. They probably just got kicked off. You've overstayed to 55 minutes, lads. Off you go.
I mean, it's a rumor, isn't it? I'll be very. Look, they're professional footballers, and let's face it, right? Under Lee Power and John Sheridan, we there was some very trying circumstances there. If ever players were going to walk out, it would have been then, but you didn't. Dion Conroy, ultimate professional, the way he was treated by John Sheridan, he didn't walk out. He carried on, got on with it. You've seen it time and time again when
good point, Craig.
When professional footballers have been relegated to the reserves or training with the youth team, they carry on. They do their job and everything. Because if you don't do your job like any of us, you could be in breach of contract and you can end up getting sacked. So I'd be very surprised if they did that. Or I think maybe they've been influenced by me and decided to go on strike. I don't know. But,
every other fucker strike.
Everyone else is. So
I think it's probably more at the other end of the spectrum. Actually, given that Gavin is so close in terms of age, still technically a player. I'd actually think there's probably a tighter unit than it has been all season. If I'm brutally honest, the players will be backing Gav all the way at the moment. In terms of, I actually think it's probably a better spirit in there at the moment than it probably has been for a couple of months, because he is one of the lads, should I say?
Yeah.
Paddy's
on that point that Woody's just made. Did you see the reaction of the players at the end of the Grimsby game?
Yeah,
they were all hugging.
Why would there be a walkout? There's no reason for there to be a walkout.
It just smacks bullshit to me.
Yeah, this is just typical Facebook Swindon fan group, whatever it is, sending silly rumors, spreading. Yeah, absolutely. It's rubbish.
Paddy's got involved, saying I heard Dean McKaylee was going to walk out, but he couldn't work out where the gate was. Ben,
brilliant.
Ben, Woody and Rich kind of jumped in, so you're the last one. Do you think there was a walkout, or do you think it's just Facebook bullshit?
I agree with everyone else. I think it's a load of shit because we're not in dire straits and everyone's getting paid. And why are they walking out? I don't get it.
Shall we have a little bit of fun then? This has been a quite intense conversation since Ben joined.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Lads.
It's what it's all about.
But this is what it's all about, isn't it? The mates down the pub, we've all been down the pub having these.
I've been down for a bar stool at me, mate.
Discussions, haven't we? So,
5 feet. It seems as if that we're only just going into the Rumble now. I think it's been a Royal Rumble for the last 2 hours. So, that's what the name of the podcast.
It's all good.
It absolutely is. We yes, please. We sent out it was on Twitter and Facebook, possibly the other socials. I didn't have the conversation with Craig in advance of doing it. But we sent out asking people to send in their best Swindon Town themed wrestlers, as this weekend is the Royal Rumble. And whether you are a big fan of wrestling, whether you feel you've grown out of it, at some point, whether male or female, you've probably pretended you were Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Stone Cold, Triple H, The Rock, Mankind, John Cena, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. There's the other ones now. MJF, I looked up today. Or, of course, for the women as well, you could have wanted to be a Trish Stratus, a Lita, a Mickie James. Who else is there? Britt Baker.
Paige.
Paige,
now.
Paige stroke Saraya, depending on which brand you like.
Don't forget
And the Royal Mae Young, absolute classic.
Johnny Mae.
Tori Wilson as well.
Oh yeah.
But no matter what era of wrestling, once you were into it, Royal Rumble was up there with the absolute essential that you were interested in. And we asked people to send in some STFC themed wrestlers. So what I'd like to put to you guys, and of course, anyone in the chat who wants to add any more, I've picked out some of my favorites from the replies, that we got, and just let me know if you like them, if you like the efforts, and whether they would win the STFC Royal Rumble. So there was a couple that got their generic Swindon Town nicknames. So we had Gerald Beast Eiffel in the Royal Rumble, and Wayne the Chief Allison was in there as well. Two good opening shots. I was very much a fan of the Underjaker. Very good effort. Would he like that one? Then we had for the slightly older, when the legends come back, Killer Kilcline is in there. We had Stone Cold Charlie Austin, of course.
Good one, that.
And then I've had to practice saying this one because it's very difficult to mix the two. Eddie Guerrero, Ronan Darcy.
That's a good one.
Was the one that got sent in.
This is like House of Games.
Well, that's the Richard Osman thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, not seen that. Oh, Mike's added one in here. We've got Giant Chris Haystacks.
Very good.
Was it Paul Allen was called Taz or something like that? The Tasmanian Devil.
Taz. Yeah, Taz.
We've got Johnny William Regal. We've got Kai and Ty Gooden. We've got Abu Kanu Digit Sucker. Little nod to Booker T. We've got not Triple H, but Double H, Hallam Hope. The $1 Million Man, Rich Fawcett. And one from our very own Mark, although I changed it. He went rock solid, Taylor Curran. I said he's much more pebble solid than rock.
A fruity pebble.
And Fruity Pebble, very good. Any particular favourites in amongst that? And of those entries, who is winning the STFC Rumble? Rich, you've got the belts behind you. Let's start with you.
I thought my one was quite good.
Yes, Razor Ruddock was very good. I missed that one off the list. Sorry.
Not as good. Yeah, I thought Eddie Guerrero, Ronan Darcy was good. Yeah, that was a good one. But I thought a lot of them were quite good. There was a few there that I was like, really. But yeah, I would say that one probably.
Yeah, okay. Craig, any particular favourites for you in that lot?
I don't know, mate. I mean, I grew out of wrestling by the age of 12, like most people should.
You don't have to be in. Just say $1 Million Man, Rich Fawcett.
Oh, Garth, superb, by the way.
Can I just
Romeo
the Hitman?
Oh, actually, can I just add one? Can I add one? Because I'm pretty sure he was player coach when he came in. Dennis, the Ultimate Warrior, Wise.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Ben, any particular favourites in the list, or would you like to add any?
I'd added the Paul the Taz Allen. So remember, he was like Tasmanian Devil or something. There's been quite a few that are quite chucklesome. I haven't had quite a lot of them to be here.
Okay. Woody?
John the Snake Beaker.
Brilliant.
So I do like Stone Cold Charlie Austin. I do think that's quite a good one.
Yeah,
I don't give that credit. One of my mates got that one, so don't give him the credit.
Friday night?
I did quite like the Double H one. That was quite good.
Double H, yeah. Hallam Hope.
But can anyone remember the Bushwhackers back in the day?
Yeah.
Oh, Joe.
That's Darren Bullock and Lee Collins there. That's the two.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
They'd be fighting each other at the end. They'd be the last two men in it.
Craig, can I compliment you on your shirt, by the way? It looks lovely.
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah, it's all right, isn't it? Yeah.
We've got Seidu Kane there as well.
Yeah, that's good.
Very nice. Nick, anyone you'd like to add? You're our very own Ric Flair, of course.
No. There's two comments I would make. One is, forget anything with Razor Ruddock, because he should never ever be mentioned in this podcast ever again, because he is total shitehouse. Absolutely hate him. Joe got my one, Bushwhackers. I had the pleasure of taking my lad to Oxford Theatre with all the Blackbird Lee's scabs watching the Bushwhackers. And all night it was Bushwhackers, 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 with all the scabby little fucking Oxford bastards. So wrestling, you can forget, man. If you ever had to have that joy, it certainly was not. And I'm sorry, Joe, if you're watching, for swearing, but that was deserved.
Rich, for anyone who fancies a flutter on it for tomorrow night, who are you backing to win the actual Rumble?
I've been so out of it, to be honest with you. I've been looking forward to tomorrow night, but I haven't been watching any of it. I don't really watch like the main shows anymore. I mainly look forward to it. But I think it's probably nailed on that Cody Rhodes will probably win it. But like I say, I think there'll be a few surprises in the men's and women's Rumble. So I'd say back Cody for the men's. And I'm going with bookies on this one. I think Rhea Ripley's going to win the women's, so we'll wait and see.
Okay, and I think that is the perfect place to end that one. It's been lively, as we thought it would. Thank you for everyone in the chat for watching along and getting involved. My big thanks to tonight's panel of Rich, Royal Woody Bassett, Craig, Friday Night Joe, Nick, and of course, late entry, number 30 in the Fools Rush In Rumble, BTB coming in and causing absolute carnage. For any of you, everyone going to the game on Saturday, enjoy. And as we always say, be loud, be proud, and bring home the points. From everyone at Fools Rush In, we will see you on Monday for what will be our deadline day preview show, where if we've still not signed anyone, Ben will continue to tell us everything's just fine. Good night.
Take my hand, take my whole life too, but I can't help falling in love.